edge, okay? But Americans, are we okay with this? What Dick Cheney did, withholding information from the Congress and ordering those around him to do the same thing, basically is a secret government. That's what it is. I think the Obama administration needs to get point dog on this and get after it. The Obama Justice Department, this is a great assignment. You need to get it in gear. Is Congressman Rush Holt, a senior member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, what's your take on this? Is Dick Cheney just going to be able to go do whatever he wants to do in the aftermath of this? Say that we're not safe, say that we're not doing the right policies, and then now we find out, of course, that there was almost a secret government that was going on here. What do you make of this?
Well, it's good to be with you, first of all, Ed. It's not as if we're suddenly finding out that there were all sorts of transgressions going on. This has been dribbling out for years. And we learned just last week from the report of the inspectors general from various agencies that for the warrantless eavesdropping, the warrantless wiretapping, it was the vice president's office, the vice president himself and his chief counsel, who personally decided who in the country would be briefed on these secret activities. And it was not, by the way, the Congress. And you know, you ask for passion. I mean, this really is serious. It gets at the heart of what a representative democracy is with a Bill of Rights. This gets at the heart of the relationship between the government and the individual. And we need to reestablish that relationship along the lines that the founders intended. And, you know, there are a lot of people in this country who came here to flee other countries where they feared the knock on the door in the middle of the night. They feared that their profession, their livelihood would be ruined by unsubstantiated suspicions. I mean, what we've got here is the CIA deciding on their own, without any oversight, you know, what is appropriate international covert action.
Well, the next question,
we have the NSA deciding on their own who are the bad guys whose phones should be tapped.
But Congressman, doesn't it now sit at the doorsteps of the Obama administration to move forward with this? I mean, where's the Attorney General? Now, I know this just came out over the weekend, but do you have some expectations that Mr. Holder is going to be aggressive with this most recent information?
You know, all I know is what I read in the paper, and it says that he is now talking about an investigation within his own circle. That's good. But this is something, you know, if you're going to recapture the essence of liberty, it means it has to come from all sides. It has to come from the public. It has to come from the executive branch. It has to come from the congressional branch, as well as from the judiciary. We need, I think, a major, comprehensive investigation of what has gone on.
Sure.
You know, as I say, there are all these dribs and drabs that have come out over the years, whether it's...
And finally, I got you on that. And Rush, does this exonerate Nancy Pelosi?
You know, everybody keeps bringing that up. This is not what goes on inside the Beltway. This is the relationship between the government and the individual.
No doubt.
You know, any of us who have served on these committees for any length of time can say, well, of course the CIA is into denial and deception. That's their business. And unfortunately, that hasn't stopped at Capitol Hill.
But they're not into going off and operating on their own and doing whatever they want to do and having operations that elected officials don't know anything about on these select committees. Congressman, good to have you with us tonight.
But they shouldn't be. Thank you, Ed.
Exactly. Thank you. Congressman Rush Holt with us. Let's go inside the CIA with a former CIA officer, Jack Rice. Jack, good to have you on tonight. Explain to our listeners, viewers tonight, what is the difference between operational and non-operational? I mean, you either have this program or you don't.
Yeah, you know, you're absolutely right. And you know what, Ed, I'm looking at this not just as a CIA officer, but also as a former prosecutor. You think about this as an actionable step. If I'm going to rob rob a bank. I don't have to be in the bank, steal the money, take it back to the house, and count it before I've committed a crime. Once you go down that path, once you take one step, you have begun this operation. If we think about this with the CIA, if they started laying out a list of people that they wanted to kill, if they started thinking about the funding and started to spend the funding, guess what? The action has already started. The operation has already started. And you've been asking both the senator and the congressman for some passion. How about this for passion? Let's see some subpoenas. Let's see some indictments. And if, in fact, Dick Cheney did what it is it appears that he did, let's see this man in a cage. How's that for passion?
What does this do to the CIA? And I know that Cheney has got his allies over at the CIA, and they're thinking, you know, this is a bunch of hogwash. We had to do this to protect the country and everything else, but the country doesn't run that way. You can't go off on your own and do whatever you want to do. Would this affect CIA morale at all?
You know what? This isn't about the CIA. And by the way, it's broader than that. It's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's not about Nancy Pelosi. This is about what the Constitution says. This is about what the 1947 National Security Act says. If you commit a crime, you don't sit down and say, gosh, if I committed a crime, should we do something about it? No, no, no. If you committed a crime, then you decide how you're going to sentence that person. In this case, if David Addington and Vice President Cheney went to the CIA and said, you will do this, then these guys were guilty of a crime. And I want to see something.
And finally, what does this put Leon Panetta in an untenable position in any way with people at the CIA? What do you think his position, you know, saying having to go to Congress?
Does not. In fact, Leon Panetta did exactly what it is he was supposed to do. When he found that there was an obligation, he came forward. And in fact, by the way, they reported that people within the CIA came to Panetta and said, you need to know about this. So this says something about the CIA, too. If it was driven out of the White House, we better follow this all the way up. Finally, it's about time, don't you think?
Jack Rice, good to have you on the Ed Show tonight. Thanks so much. About this most recent news story about Dick Cheney telling people around him to conceal information from the Congress, some things that the CIA was working on. What do you want Attorney General Eric Holder to do at this point with this information? What are your expectations?
Well, I'd like to find out what happened. And one of the reasons, as you know, I proposed an accountability commission, a bipartisan accountability commission, to go in and find out what everybody did, why they did it. But if somebody in government is telling others not to obey the law, or suggesting that at the highest levels people are above the law, that's wrong. In our country, everybody has to obey the law. There's not an exception for a president or a vice president or a United States senator. So I think that he'll look into it, but I also think I've heard the comments of Senator Feinstein, who's the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. She is very, very good, and she's certainly going to bore into this.
So how troubled are you that this was going on and the Congress didn't know about it?
Well, if the vice president told the CIA not to inform the Congress as they're required to by law, then he was telling them to break the law.
Is this the tip of the iceberg, Senator?
Well, it may well be. We do know, according from the reports, the published reports, that when this program was discovered or reported to Leon Panetta, the CIA director, he ordered it immediately stopped, especially when he found out that the Congress had never been informed.
Senator, great to have you with us tonight.
Good to be with you, Ed.
You bet. Senator Pat Leahy, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, with us here on the Ed Show. Coming up.